Manjuji, I want to come to you first. G20 indeed was a huge success. We have spoken about this in the last 4 to 5 days, ever since there has been this marathon diplomatic hectic parleys that have been happening, especially here in the national capital. But that strongly worded statement from India when it comes to the meet or the bilateral that had happened with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, what does it show about the relationship between the two nations? Is it correct to say that India has taken up this issue with far more strength and vigor compared to what we had done in the past?
Absolutely. It was very important that India take it up strongly, because despite all the threats and all what has happened in the recent past in Canada, even targeting Indian diplomats, the Indian ambassador, and kind of death threats, etc. So that has been very, very concerning for India, and Canada doesn't seem to have taken any cognizance of that.
Yeah.
They seem to be just saying, even now he gave a very anodyne kind of thing, saying we stand against them and we respects free speech, but threatening people and giving death threats is not something that you should tolerate as free speech, not under the garb of free speech. So definitely the relationship is under strain, and even the FTA talks have been put on hold because of Canada's attitude. The Canadian Prime Minister's attitude, and I think he has his constraints. Because as you mentioned just now, there is a K nexus within the cabinet as well, and his political support. A lot of it comes from that category. So not all Sikhs in Canada are linked with this or with this movement, but yes, it's a sizable chunk, and I think it is important. It is incumbent on the government of Canada to take action against them, to prevent this kind of behavior, and the threats, especially to our diplomatic premises, to our diplomats. It has to stop. And even the desecration of temples, I think, is not acceptable all the time. He said we don't tolerate hate, but this is hatred. If you keep on desecrating other people's religious places, I think it is a very clear indication that this is hate. And and no action, no concrete action has been taken against any of them.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom more into this Khalistan issue, India-Canada issue, and then talk about the macro issue, the success at G20 and what to expect more. I want to cut across to Lieutenant General KJ Singh, who is with us on the broadcast. Sir, you've written about this issue at length. It's a silent minority of people in the country of Canada which are very quote-unquote vocal or loud or make too much noise about this anti-India propaganda that they seek to run for certain small benefits. But the majority of the Sikh population living in Canada arguably is not in support of the so-called Khalistani movement. The fact that there are domestic political compulsions for Justin Trudeau to in some way be in alliance with the sort of narrative, do you really see this position shifting? Look, there's flag that he's got at G20, whatever he could, and the domestic press has noted that. There is domestic political flag that he's facing, and more importantly, the national media in Canada has also taken a note of it.
See, Anusha, I do not expect, great move forward, but I certainly expected better sort of behavior. The way Premier Trudeau sulked through this summit, it was not behoving his stature. He represents such a big economy, a country which has got such large diaspora from India. Their education economy runs on us.
Yeah.
A large number of Indians contribute to their economy. So I certainly expected a better kind of a response, more mature response, I'll say. See, he came here a few years back, and that time also he went on a kind of a sightseeing trip and he indulged in a lot of tourism. So this time we were expecting something substantial from him. Unfortunately, that has not happened. And you're very right. I am in touch with a lot of people in Canada. The silent majority there is not with him. And I hope what PM Modi has done is registered by others over there, because after all, it's a democratic country and they have to face elections. So it's time for people take note of this. And not see, the problem with him is there is one Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal. Jimmy is running the National Democratic Party. He is his coalition partner. In his own cabinet, there are 3 or 4 people who have known linkages. And it is good that we have done it. Pull aside is a format where you call a person aside, a dignitary aside, and straightway get on to the topic. There is
Okay.
no beating around the bush.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had to do it because see, it has got what is happening in Canada resonates backward. Pujewala, who was killed, the people who killed him somewhere have linkages in Canada.
Yes, yes, and in fact, sir, combating terrorism is one thing that global peace and security is something that has been spoken of in that particular joint statement as well that has come out.